Imagine if you could see a hurricane forming, not just hours before it hits, but 15 years before a single cloud appears in the sky. That is the incredible promise we're talking about today. A brand new way to open a window right into the brain and see Alzheimer's disease long before it ever takes hold.
I mean, it sounds like a question straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? And for decades, it basically was. Diagnosing Alzheimer's was something that happened after the fact, after the damage and the memory loss had already started. But in this explainer, we're going to show you how that has completely, fundamentally changed. Okay, so let's dive right in. To really get why this new test is such a revolution, you first have to understand the old way of doing things, and trust me, it wasn't great. For years, getting a solid diagnosis meant one of two things. Either you got a PET scan, which is incredibly expensive and not available everywhere, or you got a spinal tap to analyze the fluid around your brain and spine. Both are invasive, they're costly, and they were almost always done only after symptoms were impossible to ignore. It was a tough road to a diagnosis that frankly often came way too late. But what if the clearest signal of a problem in the brain wasn't found in the brain at all? What if it wasn't in the spine, but in a simple drop of blood? Well, that is the heart of this incredible breakthrough. So let's meet the hero of our story, a little protein called p-tau217. The easiest way to think of it is as a clue, a tiny messenger that gets sent out by brain cells when they start getting damaged by Alzheimer's. And this little clue, it doesn't just stay locked away in the skull. It actually makes its way into your bloodstream. And here's what's absolutely wild. Just by measuring this one protein in the blood, this test has proven to be just as accurate, and sometimes even more accurate, than those super complex, super expensive PET scans and spinal taps. It's a total game changer. So just how accurate are we talking? We're talking between 90 and 95%. That number, right there, represents a huge leap forward in our ability to see and understand this disease. And all with a method that's way simpler and easier for people to get. And this brings us to the test's real superpower, its ability to see the future. It can spot the underlying signs of Alzheimer's 10 to 15 years before a person has any noticeable memory problems. Think about that. It's an early warning system on a scale we've just never had before.
So, how exactly does a problem happening inside a tiny brain cell actually show up in a blood test? It's pretty amazing, actually. Let's walk through the science, step by step.
Okay, so it all starts with these things called tangles, made of tau protein, one of the classic signs of Alzheimer's. As brain cells get sick and start to break down, they release our little messenger, p-tau217. Then this messenger leaks out of the brain and gets into the bloodstream, where a very sensitive test can finally pick it up and measure how much is there. And here's the crucial point. This test isn't just a simple yes or no. The amount of p-tau217 that they find in your blood is a direct reflection of what's happening inside your brain. So more clues in the blood means the disease is more active. An accurate early warning system is a huge scientific achievement for sure. But what does it actually mean for patients, for doctors, and for the future of new treatments? Let's get into the real-world impact. Well, first off, it blows the doors wide open for real, meaningful early intervention. Knowing your risk a decade or more in advance gives you a powerful chance to make lifestyle changes that could potentially slow things down. It also lets us effectively screen people we know are at higher risk, like those with a family history.
Second, this test is a huge deal for developing new medicines. New drugs that are coming out work best when they're given early. This test is the key to finding the right patients at the perfect time. Plus, it's going to dramatically speed up clinical trials for future drugs, because researchers can now find people for their studies so much more easily. And finally, the impact on families and the whole healthcare system is just massive. It gives doctors real clarity, helping them tell the difference between Alzheimer's and other kinds of dementia. This helps avoid wrong diagnoses, it cuts down on the need for those invasive tests, and because it's just a blood test, it makes this kind of advanced diagnosis possible all over the world. This test is here, it's real, but it's really just the start of a whole new chapter. So what are the current hurdles we still need to clear, and what does the future look like? So let's be realistic for a second. Right now, the test needs specialized labs, so you can't just get it done at your local clinic yet. And while it's way, way cheaper than a PET scan, it still costs more than a routine blood test.
And probably most important, it's an incredibly powerful tool, but it's not a diagnosis on its own. It doesn't replace a full, comprehensive checkup by a doctor.
But the future here is so incredibly bright. The big vision is for this to become a routine screening test for everybody over the age of 50. Scientists are already working on combining it with other clues to create even more powerful tests. And it's all leading to the ultimate goal, using this early detection to start preventative treatments before any real damage is ever done to the brain.
So we'll leave you with this thought. For decades, we've been looking for a cure for Alzheimer's, for that magic pill. But this breakthrough kind of reframes the entire problem. It makes you wonder, what if the most powerful first step in stopping this disease isn't some complex treatment, but just the simple, early knowledge that a storm is on its way?